Hi and welcome to the AnyLogic Modelers YouTube channel. Now I'm very excited to do this video about the use of AI when building models in AnyLogic, but it's one of the few blog posts and videos that I actually know might be completely irrelevant in the next couple of years, and I actually welcome the fact, and I'd be disappointed if this is where everything stops. Now, if you're an advanced AnyLogic user or you think you know a lot about the use of AI in building models and writing code, you're welcome to skip to the more advanced parts later in the video. You can use the chapters in the YouTube video down below to navigate to the sections that you find most interesting. Now, in this video, I'll try and make use of the various chatbots that's available, Grok, Perplexity, ChatGPT, Copilot, etc. And the topics we'll be covering will be the use of a chatbot to give you answers, the use of chatbots to write code for you inside an IDE, for example, VS Code or Eclipse. And then the third part is how you can use Copilot inside your GitHub workflow, either to review your pull requests or to even do some tasks for you. Now in this video, I'll be using one of the AnyLogic example models, the distribution center one. I've made some minor modifications to it to help me illustrate some of the uses of AI. So let's jump right in. Now the first example we're going to show of how you can use AI is the one that I think most people are familiar with. And that is the use of the AI chatbot. So there's basically two ways that you can use it. The first one is for some generic advice and guidance. And this is great for novices and inexperienced users, but it can be problematic if you don't know enough of AnyLogic itself, or you're asking it very specific questions that it will usually try and answer with Java-based answers instead of AnyLogic specific ones. Although this have advanced quite a bit in the last couple of months. Okay, so let's have a look at the following prompt. I'm here in Perplexity and I'm going to ask it, please provide me with instructions on how I can set up an inventory management system in AnyLogic model so I can track how inventory is built up for different kinds of products and then order new products based on target stock levels. Please provide as much details as possible. Give considerations for AnyLogic specific functions and features. So now Perplexity will give us a lot of generic advice about the agents that we need to create, about product lists, inventory variables, etc. And you can go through this, and it's a good starting point, and it's good if you chat with the chatbot, and it gives you some general basic advice and help you structure your model. But it won't be building it for you, and everything that you see here, you'll have to go and translate into actual AnyLogic work. Now, the second way that you can use a chatbot is for it to write specific pieces of code for you. Now, this is great for novices and experts alike. I found myself many times writing a piece of code, making a bunch of mistakes, or forgetting some very specific syntax, or forgetting what's the optimized way of writing a specific loop based on the function that I want to use. And it's great to just often write exactly what you want, or give it some pseudocode, or just give it some comments, and then it writes the code for you. Okay, so now we're going to go to Grok. I'm going to give it this prompt where I say I need a function for my AnyLogic model that will cycle through all the docs in a collection called load docs and find at least one where there's enough space available to carry the order I want to place. If multiple docs are present, please return the one with the largest space available, right? So very generic. I've got an idea of what I want to do, and it will now write the code for me. Okay, but this in itself is not something that you can directly translate into AnyLogic, right? Because we go to our AnyLogic model, we'll see that we have to use the AnyLogic function object, we have to choose a return value, we have to input our arguments at the top, and then we have to write our code. So what we can do is we can actually ask Grok, please give me instructions on how to do this using AnyLogic function object, right? And we'll see that it will give us an exact step-by-step instruction of how to do it. Opening your AnyLogic model, adding your function object in there, give it a name, set the return type to doc, what is the arguments order required, type double, and then you just put this piece of code inside the body of the function object. And it goes around explaining all of this to you as well. So this is really great. It makes life so much easier, especially for novices, because it explains to you exactly how to do something that would have been a standard copy and paste exercise in Java straight into your AnyLogic. So I've also created an AnyLogic specific chatbot inside ChatGPT, which I've trained with all the freely available information, like the big book of AnyLogic, AnyLogic in 3 days, and all the online help files. And this can sometimes give you more specific answers to your questions. You can ask it something more applicable to AnyLogic, although the current chatbots available does have a lot of AnyLogic specific knowledge. So this is one way where you can work with the chatbot, but you need to copy and paste all your answers from here to AnyLogic and actually do the hard work yourself after you've been given the instructions. Okay, so next up we're going to have a look at how you can integrate your AI chatbot straight into writing code for you using an IDE. Now the first thing that you'd like to do is you need to save your AnyLogic model as a multi-part ALP format, the new ALPX format. And once you've done that, you'd be able to open up that model inside something like VS Code, which is a little bit better for me for this specific use case versus what we've got in Eclipse, but it also works nicely in Eclipse. So what you'll see is once you've opened up the model in VS Code, is you get to see the entire folder structure here. So we see the underscore ALP, we see some of the things that we've already changed, which is now color-coded red, and we can go to our events.java. And inside AnyLogic, I've created this function for me, which I said find best doc new. Right? And here I just wrote some comments where I said I need a function that will cycle through all the docs in the load docs, and based on the doc with the highest space available, return it. So if we go back to VS Code and we go to main, we look at the code, we look at the functions, we can see here's our function where we just wrote down the comments. We can now go and we just hit enter, and you can see that it's trying to guess what we want to write next, and here we go. It says doc, best doc is null, the best capacity, and it's got a little for loop that will write this piece of code for us, and once we're happy, we can hit save. And if we go back to AnyLogic, it'll tell us, listen, the model has changed, and do you want to reload it? We can go yes, and we can go back to this function that we just copied. This one, find the best doc new, and we can see our code has already been added for us here. It doesn't always add in the correct arguments for you or add in anything else, but it automatically created all of this for us. There was no copy and pasting. The only thing that we needed to do was to accept it, save it, and then open it again inside AnyLogic. Okay, so the nice thing here is that we can also go back to the IDE. If we open up Copilot, we can go to one of our specific functions here. So let's check the one that says move from storage doc. I'm going to highlight this code part here, and I'm going to say analyze this piece of code for me. How can I improve it? Right? And now Copilot would actually start analyzing the code for us. It can explain it for us. It's looking at the selected code. It's got some suggestions for improvements, which we can see here on the side. Okay, it's saying here's how we could improve this code. So it's doing it in different steps, key improvements, separations, etc. And now I can tell it, please implement your suggestion, right? We should never blindly just accept what AI is writing for us, but actually read through it as we would for somebody that's working for us or for a colleague. And then once we're sure that it's correct, we can ask it to make these changes for us. Okay, now the nice thing is that we get to see these changes side by side. Now it's saying there's some compilation errors. Now unfortunately the compilation doesn't happen inside VS Code, so we're not sure whether it's actually going to compile inside AnyLogic or not. So these are some of the background things that you can add to it as well. So it's still working. We shouldn't accept this just yet. Its compilations errors are expected since this is an AnyLogic modifier and the IDE doesn't have access to the full model, right? So it's giving us all the instructions. It's realizing that it's in AnyLogic, and now we can say, yep, this looks good. You're removing all of this. You're keeping that top part, and we're going to keep all of this. And again, if we save this file, we go to AnyLogic, we say, yes, please reload it. and we can go to, where's that move function, move from storage dock. Move from storage dock has now been updated, and yeah, there's some errors that we probably need to fix, right? So we're doing this just on the fly, but that's the level of detail to which you can go to and literally program inside your IDE, which has got a lot of benefits for Code Complete, the integration of Copilot, etc. And this really makes life a lot easier. Now, next up, we're going to look at how you can use Copilot inside your GitHub workflow. The first and arguably the best way to use Copilot is to review your pull requests. Okay, so let's have a look here at the model, at the workflow. I've got a task, task 47. And inside this branch, I've made a couple of changes to some of the functions, embedded objects, etc. I'm going to commit these changes. I'm going to say upgrade minor features. I'm going to submit this to this task, commit this to the task, and then we're going to push it to the origin. And then I'm going to go to the branch and I'm going to create a pull request, right? Because I want to put my work back into the main branch. So you'll see under reviewers, I already have Copilot assigned as a reviewer because Copilot reviews all my work. GitHub does the normal request and checking whether there's conflicts with the master case. And now it takes a minute or two, depending on how big the commit is, for Copilot to review our work. Okay. About 2 minutes later, we can see that Copilot has now reviewed our work. It describes what the PR was all about, what did it change, etc. There's a description, there's some comments that suppressed due to low confidence. But here we can see that it's actually saying integer division on this will truncate before assigning a double, cast one operand to double to get a precise average. We're like, oh, okay, we've completely forgot about that. If we just divide the two integers, we will not get a fraction, right? Okay, so great, so I can now just commit this change. So Copilot actually reviews a significant amount of your work. Okay, we can also look at some of these comments that were suppressed due to low confidence. We can have a look at these. It says the null check for order was removed from the find doc function, so maybe that's something that we need to go and have a look at. Then it's nitpicking some of the things. We can merge it in if we want to. I'm just going to have a look at the files that changed. We can go to this change which was here. We said if order equals null, return null. That kind of seems important. We can ask Copilot about this and say, what's the difference here? Should we consider adding this back in? Is this right? Is this correct? Okay, and it returns with us with saying this null check at the start of the model. It ensures that the order argument passed to the method. When it's null, it should immediately return null, right? So it's saying removing this line is usually not correct. So okay, so we can actually revert this change back if we want to. Same with some of the other changes here at the bottom, right? So that's a very important feature where you can go and ask it. Normally, for this kind of things, it actually provides you with the feedback in here, and you're welcome to do the resolutions immediately in this. Now that's one part, and I use this for literally all my merge requests to all the people that's working for me on different kind of models, is I always do a Copilot review first, fix some of the obvious mistakes, then goes to the file changed and ask some questions whether this makes sense or should we rather undo this, etc. Now the other part, which I think is fairly new, is how you can assign work to Copilot. So if we go back to GitHub, and we go to our little project here, our little Kanban board, I've created a new issue where I'm asking Copilot, I want you to rewrite my log files. Now please rewrite the f_record and little asterisk here functions found on the model agent so that each one of the records that are a double value have the formatting function applied, right? So not a lot of detail here. So for example, the function f_record elevator log files, the code looks like this. And I need it to be like this. So you'll see the last 3 lines here has got the format function. This is just so that AnyLogic formats it in the correct version for the locale. So commas for 1000 separators and dots for decimals, or the other way around. And I'm asking it, please do the same for all the other functions that it can find. So if I assign this now to my trusty Copilot and I create it, we will see that it is rewriting the log files has now been assigned to Copilot. If we go in here, we'll see that it's already created a pull request here. which is still work in progress. If we double click on that, it says, here's the task that's been assigned to me, and it will start working on this. So this is still work in progress. What we can do is we can now click on this view session, and we can see that the Copilot has starting up a development environment. It will create a separate branch and it will go and work there. So the nice thing about this is that I can do this probably faster than what Copilot can do, but I can now go and do other things that it can't do. Some other things that we can potentially do for Copilot is we can ask it to rewrite or to add descriptions to all our functions and variables, for example. Okay, so I'm going to use some existing text from a previous issue that I've created. I'm going to say, please write a description for all the objects found in my model. These include parameters, variables, functions. Here's an example. The location of the description can be found in the description tag in the XML properties of the model. And I'm going to assign this to Copilot as well, right? So we can create this. We can see also how it is actually working with this. You can ask it to plan its work, and it creates a little checklist for you to review. If we have a look at what our other tasks that's currently busy, we can see what it's working on currently. It's found these record files, functions, frecord, AGV, elevator, fillers, etc. And now it's starting to make these changes. So it might take a couple of minutes. On some of my big tasks, it was 15 to 20 minutes for it to complete. And remember that these are premium Copilot requests, so it does cost a couple of dollars to get a big piece of work done, but definitely worth it. So I'll let this run in the background and let's wait for this to finish before reviewing it together. So one of the other nice things is typically like an employee or a team member working with you on this model, you actually get emails telling you that Copilot has started work on this. This is how it assigned it. So we can see that it's assigned number 4 to me. So if we go to this pull request for rewriting the log files, we'll see that it's already analyzed the repository. It's identified these 3 record files that it needs to change. It will fix the syntax, fix all of these, and we can actually track the progress of Copilot as it is doing all of these tasks for us. And once it's ready for review, we'll then be able to check what it's done.
A few moments later.
Now, after a couple of minutes, we would receive an email notification saying that our tasks are ready for review, the pull requests are ready for review. So for example, if we go back into the apply format function to the double values in the log recording, we can see here that it says these are the changes that's been made. So my output writer here, previously it looked like this, then it added the format to everything that it sought to be doubles. So I can say this is ready for review. Now I can start reviewing it. I can go to the files that changed. I can see, okay, yeah, it added the formatting for me. That's great. Yeah, it did as well. So that's good. Here for box filler, it added the format for these as well. Okay, great. So it actually completed everything. I can say review. I can ask it questions if I want to. And I'm now ready to merge this into. So all of this work, although very simple, was done completely in isolation by Copilot without me having to work on it. Okay, so it's been about 27 minutes later and we finally got an email from Copilot saying that it's completed its work on this task of adding descriptions. We can see that this list actually updated quite a few times during the process, and it added more items that it needed to change. It gives us a summary of all of the work that it completed, all of the elements that it documented, etc. We can now start reviewing it. We'll have a look at all the files changed. We can see that it was only changing the description parts, right? So it added descriptions in for all our functions. So I'm not going to review this now in detail. We're just going to say, well done, Copilot, this is now being merged into main. So we'll confirm this merge. We'll get back to our model. We're pulling all of these merges. So let's just clear this out. So the Copilot fix here for all our descriptions. So we go back to main. We'll see that on not all of them, but some of our functions, we've got our descriptions. Some of the variables some of our collections, etc. So it's not perfect yet, and sometimes with these XML changes you might find that it's missing a specific closing bracket or something, but it works incredibly well. As a bonus, one other thing that I've recently asked Copilot to do is to do a complete comprehensive review of my AnyLogic models. So here's one, for example, on the material design library. You can see I just asked it to do an analysis on the AnyLogic best practices as well as on Java coding best practices. Here's everything that it reviewed, what's the issues that it found, and inside the model I asked it to give me some markdown documents which it provided me with the best practices for AnyLogic. There's an executive summary, it's giving me some examples. I can even apply some of the suggestions directly based on the comments that he's found. There's a code review and then some immediate improvements as well. So if you spend the time to go through these, you'll definitely find a lot of improvements, a lot of things that I wasn't even aware of that needs to be improved. And I'm just really looking forward to what the future holds for AI, especially when it comes to modeling inside AnyLogic and any coding or other applications. So that was it. Thank you so much for watching. If you'd like, please subscribe and check out some of our other videos. See you next time.